that. So anyway, the most important thing when we go out on a trip of any kind, whether it be the grocery store or a trip up to Atlanta Beach or wherever, what's one of the most important things for us to know? How to get there. And once you're there, how to get home. And for most people in this room, home is Wilmington. And when you enter Wilmington, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Wilmington, home of the Azalea Festival." So we know that we're here, just in case we forgot. And are we here? Okay, we're at the first slide of the slideshow, and now they're going to zip, zip. Yes, look. Okay, good.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Renee, thank you, Jim, thank you, Kathy. It's Kathy's second time. We love you, we bless you. Okay. So here's the sign, "Welcome to Wilmington, home of the Azalea Festival." And if we go further away, or maybe even if you live in Leland, this is a sign that says Wilmington, State Port, Jacksonville. It says Wilmington this way. And on I-95, if you've gone away and you're coming back, there's a sign that says Wilmington. And if you're on I-40, there are lots of signs that say Wilmington. And here's a for real sign. Wilmington, North Carolina, Interstate 40, 2,554 miles. It's in Barstow, California. I am serious, because that's I-40. You can take I-40 all the way across. I checked Google Maps yesterday. You might have to slow down in Oklahoma because there was an accident. But Google Maps says that it takes about 37 hours if you don't have to stop. Just saying. So let's talk about Jesus. There is no documentation or evidence to show that Jesus had any intention of making a road trip to Wilmington, North Carolina. But in the Harmonies of the Gospels, which is the compilation of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they made it like to one big storybook. There are 47 different road trips that Jesus took during his ministry. 47. That's pretty cool. In the first year, he took 11. In the second year, he took another 11. And then in the third and final year of his ministry, he took 25 road trips. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, says that it's not the end point of Jesus' life that's the most important. It's not that event at the end. It was all these road trips that took place. It was the stories he told. It was the miracles he performed. It was his very way of being. It was the parables he shared. It was his amazing statements of truth. It was those teachings that make Jesus so important to us today. Charles Fillmore considered Jesus the master teacher. Charles Fillmore wrote a book called Jesus Christ Heals. Oh, here's the map. I tried to find one in English, but this one's in Vietnamese, and it's all the 47 trips that Jesus took. And then Charles Fillmore wrote this book, Jesus Christ Heals, and he said the 3 characteristics about Jesus that made him so successful, that made him so amazing, were, number 1, he was open to guidance. Number 2, he always was in some form of an expression of gratitude. And number 3, he realized his outworking of a spiritual pattern for perfection. Another person that Charles Fillmore admired greatly was Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he read everything he could get his hands on that Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote. And if you're into trivia, Charles Fillmore named his second son Waldo because of Ralph Waldo Emerson. But one of Ralph Waldo Emerson's most repeated quotes today is, "Life is a journey, not a destination." And that's so true. When you think about the teachings of Jesus and how they happened in his journey. When we think about our lives, when we're in the flow and we're on our path and we're on our journey, everything seems to be working smoothly. But when we get fixated on the destination, we run into what psychology calls the myth of arrival. the myth of arrival. It's like the illusion of a cure or the myth of completion. It's what fairy tales call happily ever after. And it's what we're taught from when we're little kids. Little girls are taught as soon as you get married, you will be happy. And boys are taught as soon as you get your driver's license, you will be happy, or you will be free, or you will be a man, or you will be. So let's see if some of these, this is a real life street in Wilmington. It's actually up in Porter's Neck. It's called Final Landing. It's a myth. Final Landing is a myth. But see if any of these resonate with you. As soon as I will have inner peace, as soon as everything will be okay, as soon as I can feel good about myself, or I'll be where I want to be in life, or I'll be able to take a break, or I can begin pursuing my dream. In my life, I've gotten sucked into this myth of arrival. I recognize it. When I got my first car, my friends were like, hey, are you going to get vanity plates? What vanity plates are you going to get? And I kind of tuned in. I went, getting there? Well, I knew it wasn't there. I wanted to get there, but my whole life was like about getting there, and I didn't like that very much. Kind of makes you crazy. As a minister, I've taught a lot of classes, and one of the classes I've taught is a two-part series about the overview of the Bible, and I've recognized that in teaching that class, I get sucked into the myth of arrival, because I feel like as soon as I read one more book, I'm going to be prepared. As soon as I read one more book, I just need one more book. You know, of course, I pick one that thick. It's like, as soon as I read that one more book, I will know enough. I will know enough. And really, it's absolutely crazy-making. So what is the practice? In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3. It's breathing. Breathing can break whatever grip that myth has on us long enough for us to recognize, oh, I am in the grip. Conscious breathing, because while we're in the grip, we're breathing. Or, we're breathing, but it's not like healthy breathing. It's not like conscious breathing. Conscious breathing in 2, 3 and out 2, 3 can free us from those crazy-making thoughts that are emerging because we're in the grip of the myth of arrival, or we're in the grip of that final landing that we think we have to get to, or that we need to get to so that we can be or do or actually express something else. And going to take a picture of Final Landing, Nikki and I found that it has a really cool cross street. Edgewater. Edgewater is the cross street. So you have a choice. For centuries, and maybe even for millennia, most people thought being on the edge of the water was not a good thing. But I actually think it's an amazing thing to live on the edge. And I'm not talking about this kind of edge where that house is on the edge of the water. I don't know that I could do that. And I'm not talking about being on the edge, whether or not I was doing a handstand on my backpack on that. I'm not talking about that kind of an edge. I'm talking about this kind of an edge. Living on the edge of human desire. That's the secret to our spiritual unfolding. That's the secret to transformation. That's the secret to the evolution of our soul. Living on that kind of edge. So when we get to the choice of Final Landing or edge water, what are you going to choose? The edge. Well, that's what I'm going to choose anyway. There's another street here in Wilmington called Hope Springs. Hope Springs. Psychologists say that, yes, hope gives us, the myth of arrival can generate hope and hold out that carrot that sometimes keep us going. But what are your memories of Hope Springs? Are they positive or negative? What emerges from you when you hear Hope Springs eternal? The whole quote is actually by Alexander Pope, and he says, "Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is." Well, that's a downer. But always to be blessed. So the blessing's always outside. The soul, uneasy and confined from home, rest and patiates in a life to come. So really, hope springing eternal, it's not an upper. It is a downer. In fact, it's really affirming a circumstance outside of ourselves that we have no control over. Unity makes a big deal about the difference between hope and faith. Hope is that desire that's outside of ourselves, but faith is intrinsic. Faith is something that we're all born with. Faith is foundational. Faith is that essence. Charles Fillmore defines faith as that perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape substance. He says that faith is that magnetic power that draws unto us that which our hearts desire. So when we tune into our own self, our own heart, our own mind, our own body, we can become one with that magnetizing power that draws to us our heart's desire. This street sign is about 1.5 miles from here. It's not very far, and Nikki and I went to take a picture of it yesterday, and we found a great discovery which reminded us of this sign we took a picture of in Connecticut. In Connecticut, there's Hope Lane where it says it's a dead end. A dead end. Hope is a dead end. It won't carry us anywhere. It doesn't transform us. It doesn't open anything in us. It just stops us. The Hope Springs Court here in Wilmington says yield, which means once again we're stuck. We're sitting there watching the beauties of life go right by. What an amazing choice. What an amazing place Wilmington is. So metaphysical. So metaphysical. What consciousness do we want to choose? What consciousness do we want to be in? Do we want to be in the consciousness of faith, in which case we are the flow of traffic that's going by? Or do we want to be hope, where we're watching life passing us by? Pretty phenomenal, huh? A modern day guru, Alan Cohen, says this: the purpose of life is not to fight against evil and misfortune. It is to unveil magnificence, to unveil that which already is. We've covered our magnificence up, not purposely perhaps, but we have. And our job, our holy purpose is to let our light shine, to let that wisdom out, to let that compassion out, to let that love fly, to let those sparks ignite between each other. That's our holy purpose in life. Getting back to Charles Fillmore, he said those 3 qualities that Jesus had, we can have too. Number 1 is opening our minds and hearts. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. When we spend time in prayer and meditation, we know which opportunity to take. When we spend time in prayer and meditation, we're able to discern which direction we want to steer our car. When we spend time in prayer and meditation, we're opening our hearts and minds to the wisdom of the divine. Step number 2 is express gratitude. Now, I'm pretty sure this photo is photoshopped. Because, really? I'm going to have to go here someday. I looked on a map. It's in the middle of nowhere. To the left, Blowing Rock. To the right, ASU. So that's northwestern North Carolina. But it says gratitude straight ahead. In those 47 road trips of Jesus, he was continually expressing gratitude. He was continually giving thanks for the abundance that was. He was continually acknowledging the prosperity that he was experiencing. So we have a choice. Do we want to pay attention and use the principle to magnify what we've got? Or do we want to go back to Hope Court, Hope Lane, Hope Springs Eternal? Or think that we have a final landing? Do we want to live on the edge? Gratitude is number 2. Number 3, unveiling our spiritual pattern for perfection. We think that life is like this. We think that life is unidirectional. We think it's one way with an occasional U-turn or a left turn. But actually, life looks more like this. I love the one that goes right off the sign. Comedian Dimitri Martin drew this great sketch, Success, what people think it looks like, that straight line, or what it really looks like.
I like that.
What it really looks like. So for Kathy today, working with the PowerPoint, it really looked like that. Thank you, Kathy. For Renee, it kind of looked like that, and then she found a little directional. But this is life. This is our journey. This is where we are, and we're in the right and perfect place. A television producer by the name of Barbara Hall, she produces Madam Secretary, Judge and Judy, and a few others. She said, the path to our destination is not always a straight one. We go down the wrong road, we get lost, we turn back. Maybe it doesn't matter which road we embark on. Maybe what matters is that we embark. And I invite you to remember that we are carrying the beloved wherever we go. It doesn't matter where we go. What matters is that we remember that where we are, God is. So let's sing. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Pick up your pointer finger, point to your heart. Surely the presence of God is in this place.